We all know that sales is a science and an art, right? You can't just come with one or the other. You have to have this finesse that comes from the art, but you also have to have the science, understanding what moves people. How do you help motivate individuals to take action, to want to change, right? So the book that I would recommend to help you with this is called The Science of Selling by David Hoffeld. I absolutely love this book. It just breaks down the scientific things that you need to do, coupled with artistic capabilities you already have. I'm telling you, it's like a match made in heaven. I recommend you check out the book, understand some of these fundamental principles and these scientific processes that helps people make decisions. And you'll see why I love this book so much. You can get a free audio download and a 30-day free trial by simply going to audibletrial.com/TSE. Again, audibletrial.com/TSE. You are absolutely going to love this book. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. And I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And on this episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about sales processes. And I'm bringing back a past guest, Meir Ezra, and he's going to talk to us about his sales process and particularly why you need to have an effective sales process in place. I think you're going to really enjoy this episode. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Welcome to the show, Meir.
Hey, hi, Donald. How are you?
Man, I am so excited to have you here. I'm looking forward to chatting with you again. Appreciate you coming back on our show and sharing some great insights with us. And this time, we're going to talk a little bit more about the sales process, something new and struggling sellers have. Maybe they're entrepreneurs or sales professionals and they're new or just not having a good time. It's because they don't have a process. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. But before we dive into the fun stuff, there's some people who didn't hear you last time on our podcast. Why don't you tell us about what you do, Meir?
Well, I'm printing money. No, I'm joking.
You're printing money over there. Let's go over there and get some.
So I'm a businessman and I have different businesses around the globe. And people ask me to teach them how do I do it. And I've done it in Israel like 10 years ago. I started a company and taught people how to get their business to become successful. And then I did it again started in North America a few years ago, about I think 4 or 5 years ago. And I'm teaching people how to really make it. But what I'm really interested in is things that works, not things that makes you feel good. And it's a big difference. I'm looking and saying, look, this is what works. Do that, and I will guarantee the results. 100%. Just do it. Even if you do it stupidly, you will get the results. And that's what I do. I bring results.
I love that. There's something I've come to realize with selling, that anyone can sell if they have the desire. All you have to do is just follow simple processes. And it goes beyond sales. It goes to business. It goes to life. If you can follow the process or the path that works, then you have nothing to worry about. So exactly. Anyone can do it. But I want to dive into that.
Agree.
I want to talk a little bit more about that concept and about the sales process. For seller, why do so many people, in your view, working with business owners and entrepreneurs, why do so many of them don't have a process? Is it just because they think they know what they're doing or just don't know how to create one? Help me understand that, Meir.
Okay, so I think that some people simply never thought about the fact that there is an actual technology, an actual sales process. And some did have, but it didn't work for them. And when someone buys something that doesn't work, he stopped using it. And it didn't work because they didn't really understand why it works and why it doesn't work. And I think that the most important thing about the sales process, even more important than the sales process itself, is to know when each step has been completed, when to go to the next step. Because the problem with any sales process, regardless of how good or bad it is that you're doing a step, but how do you know that the step has been completed?
Well,
that's the problem. And that's what we actually solved.
Yeah. And, that's a good point, too, because I think a lot of people don't start off with a end in mind. It's just more of like, let's make money, but not like, what's the first step? And let's guide down this path. So if we're going to create this process now, what are some things that we should know or understand as we start crafting a process for our business?
So Basically, when I got to sell, I know that there is a process and each step has a very exact end phenomena. There is something that needs to happen. And really, if you understand what needs to happen at the end of each step, you don't really need the process because you know this how you need to get it and you will be independent on how to create it. And the process will just help you. But really what you're looking for is the end results of each step and not the step. And generally, why am I talking about? Why am I saying that? A general sequence in life is you have start, change, stop. Everything is start, change, stop, okay? You start something, you do some work, and you stop. Now, there is two general thinking. Either you take a person and you're telling him, look, this is what you need to do, and you teach him what to do. And hopefully he will get some result. That's how you teach a robot how to work. Or you explain to the person, this is what you need to achieve, and he will figure out what he needs to do. So I'm saying that the only really successful salespeople that I saw are people that really understood what they need to achieve in each step, and then they figured out what they need to do, because what they need to do could be so many things based on the person, on his personality, on many, many, many things. But if you understand that I want to achieve this mountain, so you may go right, left, right. You may have many, many barriers, but you will achieve the mountain. You will get to the mountain. So I think that's the most important thing to understand. You need to understand the end result. So if I look at this sales process, I'm using a sales process I've developed that has 6 steps. The first thing that you do, you contact the person. So it sounds very simple. You contact the person, you say hello, but what is the end result? What is the end result of contacting the person? The end result of contacting the person is that the person actually trusts you. He actually trusts you and he's willing to talk to you. Before the person actually trusts you and willing to talk to you, you actually didn't complete that step. Does it make sense?
What do you mean by not complete? If they don't have that,
you are still in contact with the person. You're still in that step. You don't go to the next step in the sales process. The first step is contact the person, and there's a whole method of how you actually get the person to trust you very, very quickly.
Gotcha.
And before the person actually is interested in your product and willing to talk to you, you actually didn't contact it. You didn't complete that step, because whatever the person will tell you will actually not be true. You see, because the person will not tell you his real problems, will not tell you why he's there, will not tell you who he's. So he first of all needs to trust you. That's the first step. You need to contact him and he needs to trust you. And there are specific indicators that come up when a person actually trusts you and willing to talk to you.
What are some of those indicators we can look for?
So the first thing is that the person, when he is actually willing to talk to you, will initiate a subject, will initiate things without you probing. You know, at the beginning when you go to sell, you say, hi, hello, how are you? Let's say you are in a shop and someone just come to buy a TV. So the guy come and you say, hello, what you are interested in, maybe you ask. And the guy say, well, I'm just looking. He's basically not willing to talk to you.
Makes sense.
You need to get him to a point where he says, well, I'm interested in that TV because this is my problem. That's when you know that he is really now, okay, you contact that person.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once he's willing to talk to you, you need to handle any possible antagonism. That's the second step.
Okay.
Why do you need to handle possible antagonism? Because this guy may had problem with salespeople before, or with your company, or with a similar company, or with the product. Now, this step you always have to check. It's not always have to actually be executed. But you need to find out what this person think about salespeople, about the subject that you are handling.
Do you ask that outright, or do you frame that in another way?
Yeah, I will come to him and I'll say, well, so just before we continue, I really want to understand, did you have any kind of unpleasant experience or not good experience with salespeople or our company that I should know about so I can actually give you the best service I can. Now, remember, he trusts you by now. And when you ask him that, it's actually increasing the trust. Now, once you've done that, you find that he's ruined. You find out what really his problem. You find the problem. And when you find the problem, you ask him, well, so what do you want that TV? He says, well, really, what I want is I want to impress my wife. I want a big TV. I want to impress my wife. Okay. So you ask him, so from 1 to 10, if 10 is the biggest thing that you want, like to impress your wife, if it's 10 is the biggest thing and 1 is the least, impressing your wife, how big is it? And he says 7. So you say, good, thank you. So what is 10? You really need to find the problem, the real problem. This is really, really, really important because we will use it later for all kind of closing techniques.
Before we go further, why do you feel so many people don't find that problem? Do they just not know how to develop that problem, or afraid of asking outright the prospect? What do you feel?
They don't ask, and they don't look if it makes sense. So, for example, if the guy say, well, I just want a new TV. It doesn't make sense to me, but you already have a TV.
Yeah.
The difference between this TV and this TV is not such a big thing. So why is it? Well, I just thought that I want a new TV because I want a better quality. Well, I'll tell you the truth. I don't think that you'll see such a big difference in the quality. So what is it? Why are you looking for a new TV? You really have to get to a point where it actually makes sense to you. Like, why? Now, immediately once you find it, you need to agitate the problem. It's like someone stab you and you have a knife in the stomach. You now need to play with the knife. The guy need to cry.
Ooh.
You really have to agitate the problem. The guy give you the ruin. Once you find what it is, you really need to press. You need to make the problem bigger before you go to the next step.
And this right there, step 3 is finding out what the purpose is, right?
No, what is ruin? What's ruining him? What's the problem he's trying to solve? What's the thing that he thinks that when he will purchase this thing, that problem will be solved?
All right. So now we're going on to step 4 then, if that's a...
No, it is within step 3. Step 3, actually, you need to find the problem and then agitate it. You need to find the problem in step 3 and agitate it. It's one step.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm putting some notes down here.
No problem. Again, I'm not giving you each one of the end phenomena of each step, etc. And how do you know? I'm just giving you the general idea.
Sure.
And then once you agitate and the guy is really screaming, you get him to understand that you possess the solution for his problem. You don't tell him what's the solution. You just say, yes, this TV will impress your friends. He actually didn't want to impress his wife. He actually wanted to impress his friends, because the real story is that one of the girls that come to visit him, he's trying to impress her, not his wife. So that's the real story.
So he got some more problems going on there.
Exactly. He's got lots of problems, this guy. So, and this is actually a true story. I actually had a story like that I was selling something. I was selling, it was a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And I was selling, just helping a friend to sell his laptop. And I was talking to this guy. We were at a coffee shop and I was going through the process. And eventually we found that he wants to impress this girl with a laptop because they were talking about how much the laptop says about the person. So that was his thing. The moment that I found it, it was a breeze. It was like, he's going to buy it. It's not a problem. I know what to sell him.
Yeah.
I'm not selling him the speed. I'm not selling him. I'm going to sell him what that girl will think about the laptop, which means how he will look with that laptop. That's what I'm selling. Not processes, not the how fast is the processor, not almost nothing. I get him to understand that you possess the solution for his problem.
Well,
now you don't tell him how, and it's really, really, really important. The guy come to buy something. When you go to buy an iPhone, you don't really know all the ins and outs of the iPhone. Why? Because the mystery is a glue.
Yeah.
A mystery is a glue. Yes, it's gluing you between the glue between you and the idea, between you and the product is the mystery. So you need to create a mystery. In that moment, at that step, you create a mystery that he knows it will solve his problem. He doesn't understand exactly how. And then, of course, you close the deal. You just take out the agreement and you say, here is the agreement, sign and pay. And this is step 5. And step 6 is really, you need to be ready to handle the resistance. After the person purchase, in 80% of the cases, there will be questions, resistance, disagreements, second thoughts, and things will happen. You need to be ready to handle that resistance.
We're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Meir is going to talk to us about step 6 in his process and how you need to be prepared to handle objections. You're listening to the Sales Evangelist podcast, and I'm your host, Donald Kelly, the Sales Evangelist. I know you want to go ahead and hear step 6, so I won't take up a lot of time, but I want to tell you about TSE Hustlers League. It's our online group coaching program designed to help sellers like you and me of all levels, whether you've been selling for 6 years or 6 days. We all face struggles and challenges, need motivation and inspiration. We have a 12-week semester, and this upcoming semester this fall, we have 2 tracks. One track is focused more on business development. The other track is building value, increasing our win rate, and closing more deals. If you would like to learn more, go to thesalesevangelist.com/hustlers. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/hustlers. It would be an honor to have you join us. Hey guys, we're going to dive back into this episode. We're going to get step 6 from Meir and understand what it takes to handle those objections and how you can be prepared for them. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Now, I was going to ask, does this matter the length of the sales process or the product that you're selling, or it doesn't matter? Like if I'm selling something and it's, takes me a year and a half to close that process, or I'm selling something takes me, 18 days or 18 hours, does it matter? Can I still follow this outline?
Of course, because for example, I needed to do, I had some investor. Okay. So I started to contact an investor long time ago. So I contacted the person. And it took me, 2 years to actually figure that he actually got to a position where he said, okay, fine, I trust you, I'm willing to talk to you. 2 years, we were just knowing each other and doing and going and blah, blah, blah. And I knew I'm in the sales process.
Yeah.
And I didn't move at all to the next steps. Because if I would go to the next step, what will happen? I will go ahead, and we'll try to close the deal. And the deal will not close. And the problem is always before. But where before? Is it step 4, 3, 2, 1? I just know I cannot close the deal. If you cannot close the deal, it means that you skip one of the steps. What does it mean, skipped? You didn't achieve the end phenomena, either because you never done the step or you didn't complete the step. The result will be the same result. Everything will look wonderful. The process will go wonderful. And when you ask for the money, he says, what are you talking about? It's really interesting. It's the reason people do not close is because they skipped one of the steps, either by not completing them or by not doing them at all.
I truly recommend that one. I agree with that.
Yeah. And I never seen ever that someone actually teaches the end result that you should find and how to measure it. Because, of course, it's not, we don't have enough time. But each step here, I actually teach how to measure it, how to actually know that you actually at that moment. So I can give you indicators, etc. But there is a way to measure each one of those steps. For example, when you're contacting the person, there is number of agreements that I'm counting. I'm counting how many things he agree with me on.
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to achieve a number of agreements that I'm counting. And I'm actually counting them. And when I go to that number of agreement, all of a sudden I see that there is an average number of agreement. And at that moment, the speed of agreements, like the frequency of the agreement, becomes so much higher that okay, good. We completed step number 1. When I find the ruin, I actually have a way to measure if I actually have the ruin or not. And if you don't know that, if you don't have a way to actually measure it, to give the salesperson an actual indicators like scientific indicators, not, well, he needs to move his hand to the right. Or, or he's doing that with his eyes or his body language. It's too general. I need something that I can actually get a person, and he just need to do it. Regardless of how good he's doing it, I need to bring a clause.
Yeah.
And what's missing is the measurement. How do I know that I actually completed that step? And that's what we're doing with that sales process. That's what I'm teaching. Of course, it's not for right now, but that's what I'm teaching.
Man, I love that stuff. This is some great information, some great insights here that can apply to many different sellers and help them along the way. If there's one major piece of advice you'd like someone listening to this episode to walk away with, what's that one major piece of advice?
I want to explain how to handle objection, a very, very interesting technique on how to handle objection. Because I think objection is the best selling technique, or the best selling opportunity. When someone objects you, he's like saying, I want to buy, but I'm afraid, or I want to buy, but, okay?
Yeah.
So what is it, an objection? Objection is force counter force. You say, give me the money. The guy say, no, I don't want to give you the money. That's a disagreement, really, okay?
Yeah.
You say, sign, and he say, no. Okay, there are 5 steps you need to take. And if you do those steps correctly, you will turn any objection into a clause, okay?
Yeah.
So what you need to do, the first thing, the guy tell you, no, it's too expensive. The first thing you need to do is to acknowledge, to say, okay, I understand. You need to really listen patiently and fully understand his communication. You need to ask as many questions as you need at that moment. When he says it's too expensive, you need to ask him, okay, so tell me, you say I understand, but just explain to me, why do you think it's expensive? And he tells you blah, blah, blah. He says it's expensive because I don't have money and I blah, blah, blah. Okay, you say, okay, good, I understand. This is step number 1. Step number 2, you accentuate. What does it mean, accentuate? You make it bigger. You tell him, you know what? It's really expensive. You make him right. You say, you know what? It's really expensive. You are really, really right. Now, what happened at that moment when you make him right? He has nothing to push against.
Yeah.
It's like your wife come and tell you, I hate you. You say, you should. What can she say?
So you take the punch out of it. You take the power away, right?
Yes, you basically using the force that he threw at me a punch, and I'm actually helping him. I'm saying to him, you're right. There's nothing here to fight about. But the moment that he has nothing to fight about, you do nothing. You observe in silence. You wait for him to say something.
Yeah.
And now you find the agreement. You find the problem. You take the problem that he told you earlier, and you restore the agreement. You restore the agreement. You say, you told me you want to impress this friend of this girl. And he say, yes, I do. And it's really important for you. Yes. And it is like the most important for you. And he say, yes. You restore the agreement. And you say, good. So I think you actually should buy it. You try again.
Yeah.
And he will buy it. He will find the money. He will come up with a solution. It is magic. It's like really 5 magic steps. Someone push any force at you, and it doesn't have to be only in sales, Your wife say, well, you have to do that. And you say, I understand. And you say, I really should have done it. Now you say nothing. And she said, yes, you should have done it. And you said, okay, good. You say just nothing. You just acknowledge her. And you say, but you told me that you really want me to look like a macho and not do everything at home. And she said, yes, I did tell you. Well, good. So do you think that I should do it or not? And she said, no, I want you to look like a macho. Okay, good. End of cycle.
But dude, you give us some good insights today, some good little things that we can all take and apply to our businesses and to our processes. I love it.
Thank you. Yeah. There's much more, of course. I'm giving you just something. But if you use this objection, how to handle objection, these 5 steps, and anyone that will do the sales sequence and will start to look at, okay, what's the end result of each one of those steps? Contact the person, handle any possible antagonism, find the problem and agitate it. Get him to understand that you possess the solution for his problem and close the deal and handle the resistance. You will increase your sales. I think that a salesperson that don't close at least 90% of the qualified prospect is not a salesperson.
No. There's got to be some issues that are wrong there. If they're qualified, you got to be able to help carry them along. Well, if folks out there want to get in touch with you and learn about this process even more, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Just write me an email. I always answer my emails, and I really love helping people. Any question you have about sales, just write me. It's Meir, MEIR, at Meir Ezra, which is MEIREZRA.com.
Awesome.
That's my name.
Well, we'll put that information in our show notes today, and we'll make it so folks can get access to you and connect with you and learn a little bit more. So,
thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Meir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Told you some good stuff was going to be taught today. Meir came back on our show, and I want to thank him so much. And you can find out more about him and some of the great things that he's doing, projects he's working on, by simply going to our show notes, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 656. Again, thesalesevangelist.com/the-word episode number 656. At the show note page, you can find all the details, all the ways to connect with Meir, and also to learn more about his companies. You can also find out about TSE Hustlers League and all the new things that we're going to focus on. But here's the thing. I want you to take something from this episode. I want you to take one piece of advice you can apply to your career to help you with your sales, whether it's developing a new process or whether it's being able to, tweak what you have, or something that he shared that can help you in selling. I want you to take that. I want you to take it and I want you to apply it, because I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. But most importantly, I want you to go out each and every day and do big things.